Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's press conference here at the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. I'm Anthony Rowley. I'm a former president of the club, and it's my pleasure today to act as moderator and to welcome today's guest speaker, to my right, obviously, who is His Excellency Dr. Grant Pogosyan, forgive me, Pogosyan, who is Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Armenia in Japan. He's going to talk to us today about the current conflict, obviously, between his country and Azerbaijan over the Nagorno-Karabakh region in the southern Caucasus. Obviously, this conflict has come to our attention, to the world's attention in recent days because of the resumed hostilities between the two countries. This is an old and often violent conflict, and it may seem rather remote to us, some of us in Japan, but I think it should be remembered that World War I had its origins in this volatile region, and the potential for widening conflict seems very real, given the two key parties in what's going on there now, apart from Armenia and Azerbaijan themselves, are Russia and Turkey. I must admit that I had never heard of Nagorno-Karabakh until 5 years ago, when I had needed to cover an Asian Development Bank annual meeting in Azerbaijan, in Baku. And I had to sign a declaration at that time saying that I would not visit that region in order to get my visa. And so I duly avoided doing so. And so I, for one, am very eager to learn more about, what's happening in the region. So let me not take up any more time. Let's hear from an expert on the region. So Ambassador Pogosyan, the floor is yours. But first, let me tell you, if you have a Keitaiden or a mobile, put it on silent mode or switch it off as a courtesy to our guests. So, Ambassador, please.
Thank you, Mr. Rowley. I would like to begin with saying that probably most of you know, and that on September 27, soon it will be 1 month, since reckless aggression, a full-scale war started by Azerbaijan. We have been hearing, even probably this morning in this room, that that was a counterattack of Azerbaijan and Armenia started. However, let me put some facts to you, and you can judge who started the war. First of all, a full of hate speech by Azerbaijani president at the UNGA on September 23 was a diplomatic green light and clear intent for military solution. Second, closing down the transit air corridors for last 2 months, despite the absence of any threat of civilian air traffic. Third, on September 21, Azerbaijan started drafting reservists and confiscating civilian trucks for military needs. Fourth, on September 25th, the Azerbaijani Ministry of Defense rejected the request from the personal representative of the OSCE chairman in office to organize a ceasefire monitoring along the line of contact. Next, Azerbaijani authorities blocked social networks and media outlets before starting the attack. Meanwhile, Turkish media representatives are present at the conflict zone from the outset of the attack, which also proves that they knew about the offensive in advance. Next one, reports on recruitment of mercenaries from early days of this attack from the parts of Syria which are under control of Turkish military, which can be used in Karabakh conflict, or are used now already. And importantly, this list can go on and on, which are elements to prove to you who started it is the fact that they conducted with Turkey, starting July 29 until August 10, they conducted Azerbaijan-Turkey joint military exercises all over Azerbaijan cities, in Baku, in Nakhchivan, in Ganja, several other places. Thousands of military personnel, hundreds of armored combat vehicles, artillery, military aviation, including UAVs. And after the military exercise, Turkish military personnel and equipment remained stationed in Azerbaijan. It's still there. Who started it? Well, why would Karabakh start the war at this time against completely militarized Azerbaijan? Just think. So this counterattack thing, which lately is kind of, they're no longer using very much because they're using the other thing that they are, there to take some land, etc. Now it's clear, and I think the international community knows who started this reckless aggression towards peaceful people in Nagorno-Karabakh. Next one, I wanted to mention about Turkey's role. Turkey has triggered, actually initiated, trained, and prepared what they call their brothers to attack Nagorno-Karabakh and solve the problem of settlement of dispute using military. The purpose of Turkey, they have several purposes. One is that they wanted and they want to be a key player in the Karabakh settlement dispute. You know that currently it is handled by OSCE Minsk Group, led by three co-chairs, United States, Russia, and France. And Turkey has been always kind of wanted to be part of it. However, sometimes they also, Azerbaijan side talks about unwillingness or no results of work of 26 years or something of OSCE Minsk Group. And they also mentioned of some countries of OSCE Minsk Group to be biased. We can look who is biased in this case. I would like to mention, I have here words, exact statement by the Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs, press release, when the ceasefire, first ceasefire was agreed on October 10. Here is the statement. The ceasefire, which was declared on humanitarian grounds for the exchange of prisoners and prisoners of war and bodies, is an important first step, but cannot replace a lasting solution. Since the beginning, Turkey has always underlined that it would only support those solutions which were acceptable to Azerbaijan. With this understanding, Turkey will continue to stand by brotherly Azerbaijan on the ground and at the table. It's a clear message, and it shows who is biased, Turkey or Russia or France or whoever. Second reason for Turkey to be involved in this part of the world is the pan-Turkish expansionist policy which current Turkish leadership is dwelling upon. The policy is also expressed in the words many times, even in this room. This is one nation, two states, which means that we are saying we have to continue or to connect, etc. It's applied to many places. And this has been a change in Turkish policy in the last years, quite a visible change towards neo-Osmanic or pan-Turkish expansion. You can probably go back to the history when, after the World War I, Turkey was about to be remaining very small country after they lost there, and the Kemalists came to power, and the Russia and others, British by the way, were standing in Constantinople at that time, but they agreed to give the chance for Turkey to exist as a republic in Anatolia. At that time, Kemalist Turkey was saying the following, that they will make a democratic republic, and no expansionism will be a policy in Turkey, and will be working towards joining European Union, and will be good boys in a sense. And they were doing that. In fact, they were doing that more or less. However, even early statement by current Turkey leader Erdogan, who is reigning for past 17 years. Early statement, one of the early statements was this: zero problem with neighbors. Someone may remember that statement. I remember it very vividly. We will have no problems with none of our neighbors. Zero problem with our neighbors. Right now, the result of changed policy is that there is zero neighbor with no problem. And shall I just list up the places where Turkey is involved at the moment? From Africa, from Libya, there's big problems there, from Syria, north of Syria is taken by Turkish troops, although they promised to fight terrorists there. However, the part which Turkish troops are occupying northern Syria, they are in fact training, changing the names, giving to these terrorist organizations new names like National Syrian Army, etc. Greece, in Mediterranean, Cyprus, Syria, as I said, Iraq, and now Nagorno-Karabakh. This is the policy, and you can say, okay, there is at least one neighbor Turkey is very good with. This is brotherly Azerbaijan. I would not agree with that at all, because if I consider the people of Azerbaijan, I think I can say that under this policy, the people of Azerbaijan is a victim of becoming a player under the new neo-Osmanic pan-Turkish policy triggered by Turkey. This morning at 11 o'clock, I know that, actually, they know that I'm here, and I knew that they will be here. The Turkish and Azeri ambassadors were sitting right here. And I'm grateful to FCCJ, because that's another proof that they are together, and that Turkey is actually involved big in this thing. But one thing is missing. They should have invited the third party of the triad, that's the terrorists. If the terrorists were sitting next to it, that would have been the full picture of those who are attacking at the moment in Nagorno-Karabakh. Well, probably there is no Islam koku tokumein zenken taishi, probably, and hopefully it will never be. However, if we do not eradicate Islamist terrorists, and which are by many countries in the world, including Japan, are considered to be an evil and should be eradicated, we may one day see such kind of, ambassador extraordinary office of ISIS or something like that. So the third party here is the terrorist organizations. As I said, that is proved. Don't believe me? Believe many, not just one, two, but many intelligence services of many countries, including Russia, including the United States, France, and many others, who are already openly stating that it's not acceptable, including terrorist organizations, inviting and putting them in the battlefield from the side of Azerbaijan. We have actually lots of facts, audio, video, many other facts which can be put. However, we also have many statements coming from different parts of the world that they condemn this kind of approach. You can see some of the things while I talk on our the screen there. Many countries condemning and putting up statements of Turkish interference. Some parliaments, like Austrian Parliament, Cyprus House of Representatives, Luxembourg, the Secretary General of Organization of American States, the House of Representatives of Netherlands, Uruguay, can go on and on. These are some statements and also resolutions, but number of statements is much, much more. Just yesterday was a statement also in House of Representatives of the United States put up by Californian senator there. Flemish Parliament, many deputies and many others are talking about, not acceptability of Turkish-Azerbaijani aggression against Armenia, or involvement of the third party, in this case, very, very clearly Turkey, and also about usage of the terrorist organizations. Now, next one I want to mention about what is this war about? What is this war about? For the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, this is an existential struggle. This is to defend their homes, their land, the land of their ancestors who lived there for more than 3,000 years. Karabakh was always populated with Armenians. Karabakh is mentioned in many ancient Greek, all those who write the history mention Karabakh as an Armenian land. And they were under the Persian rule, etc., but doesn't matter. Armenians always lived there, always. Even the efforts to assimilate during the Soviet times and later, as they did in Nakhichevan, another enclave of Armenian. Nakhichevan succeeded. However, Karabakh never succeeded. The amount of non-Armenian population was always about 90 or more. During the Soviet time, it dropped to 76, but never below 76%. So 76% of that was always Armenian. Moreover, I go to Karabakh every year, certainly. I like the place. You know the place? Every inch of that land is a heritage of history of Armenians and cultural heritage of Armenians. 400 or 500 churches, thousands of other cultural assets, cross stones, etc., in every part of Karabakh. And those churches, cathedrals, are 6th century, 7th century. The major cathedral is 9th century. And you know what? These cathedrals standing there, these churches, are standing there much, much before, 1,000 years before, than the first nomadic Turkish tribes appeared in that region. You know that the Altaic people came much later, and first statehood was the Seljuk Turks, which then later eventually ended up the Byzantine Empire. So these assets are there. They're proving. Any person who knows at least a little bit of history knows that this is not a historical land they are taking back. First thing. As for Azerbaijan, this is just to take back the land. However, they are taking back the land without the people on it. They don't want any single Armenian to remain living there. Although the president of Azerbaijan sometimes says, you stay there, we come, we'll rebuild, don't worry, you can live. However, starting from first war, which happened in early 90s, pogroms in Sumgait, hundreds and hundreds of killing, just civilians, in Baku, in Kirovabad. Later, many examples, including axe murderer, a person who in Europe murdered with his axe sleeping Armenian. He was brought to Azerbaijan and made a hero in Azerbaijan. The fact that we have many even video proofs of that in kindergarten, they teach that Armenians are the enemy of Azerbaijan. And this is all reflected in several, for instance, European Commission Against Racism and Tolerance. The Armenophobia in Azerbaijan is just over 95%, as they said. The word Armenian, Ermeni in Turkish, is widely used as an insult in Azerbaijan. And 91% of Azerbaijanis during the 2012 poll consider Armenia as the biggest enemy. So this was nurtured in Azerbaijan against Armenia. The Armenophobia was nurtured in Azerbaijan, and they consider as people, how can people of Nagorno-Karabakh believe that they will stay under Azerbaijani rule and will be living in peace? You can probably, can you please turn on something to show to you, at least a couple of videos, you can understand what we are talking about. This is cluster bombs used in Stepanakert. You can see that these are cluster bombs. They are banned by resolutions. This is what's happening already 4 weeks. Next one is what? Ruins everywhere. Big part of the cities, including the capital Stepanakert, which was a beautiful, beautiful city, and Shushi, Martakert, and other cities are in ruins, completely ruined. They're also targeting cultural centers. Ghazanchetsot's church in second city Shushi, this one is a Ghazanchetsot church. Actually, it was shelled twice in one day. When the second time the shelling happened, 4 journalists from outside, non-Armenian journalists, were there to take pictures of the first shelling, and they were wounded. One was very heavily wounded, the Russian journalist, and got, surgical operation both in Karabakh, and they later transported to Armenia, still in there, it's coming. This is the church. Actually, I have to say that it has also some relation to me personally, because my great-grandmother is buried just in the yard of that church in Shushi. I will tell about that if you have any questions. However, let me say something also. With this, I want to say what they do. They bomb and eradicate the cultural assets, etc. But meanwhile, just next to that church, Because of our history, because of Persian, etc., presence there, there is a mosque. Armenians are Christians. Armenians are first Christians in the world, first country to take Christianity as a state religion. However, we have one mosque in Shushi. You know what? Couple of years ago, my friends, and I also was there actually, raised money to fix the mosque, and mosque is now looking very beautiful. It stands next to that church. So this is our attitude. Their attitude is to shell, to bomb. Our attitude is to keep the cultural heritage, even if it's Muslim or whatever it belongs to. Can you please show can you please show how they treat our prisoners of war? This is terrible. We've seen such kind of pictures during the fight against ISIS, against jihadi terrorists. Okay. I will do. Well, brutally killed everyone. Brutally killed. However, let me show just one. This is Azerbaijani soldier captured, and this is after operation, surgical operation done in Artsakh hospital. This is the how Karabakh people treat captured people from Azerbaijan. Anyway, I would like to leave some time for questions. However, last thing I just want to say. Any solution. Armenia is still open and still wants to go back to the table and find a solution for peaceful negotiations. Some people, even in this room, say that it doesn't happen for 20-something years and it will never happen, etc. But we still are open for that. In fact, the OSCE Minsk group work was very highly evaluated for many years, and we've been a couple of times very close to come to the solution. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan last minute always withdrew because they want everything, and they don't even consider the self-determination of Karabakh people as an option. So because of that, it was lasting so many years. Now there is a movement in the world. We can also give you lots of documents on that, that many people, municipalities, cities, I don't know, all kind of local governments are putting up, recognize Artsakh, recognize independence of Artsakh. And in fact, the issue, which is sometimes called remedial secession, remedial secession is a case which was applied in Kosovo and some other places when people are, where there is an injustice, and they are under threat of, ethnic cleansing or extermination, etc., then self-determination right comes as a first option for that. I think there is such kind of movement at the moment, but still our official position, it still remains that we still are open for peaceful negotiations, peaceful solution of the problem. Sorry, I can go on and on, but I should leave some time for your questions. And please, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador. That was fascinating. Obviously, a very complex situation. Okay, well, let's open the floor to questions from the floor. Regular members, correspondent members, if you have questions first, if anyone has a question. If not, I would like to ask one question, if I may, which is, how great is the potential for this conflict to spread? And if so, what are the routes by which it could spread to neighbouring countries? I think this is probably
Yes, it's a good question, and I think this one of the biggest thing is to spread this, make it larger regional problem, because there are many players and many countries who have their interest in the region. Region has not only ethnic or religious kind of thing, it has also some kind of economic thing, the pipelines, etc. You know what happened this morning? Both Turkish and Azeri ambassadors were talking about Baku, Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, and as if Armenians are targeting that. You know what? If Armenians wanted to target that, they would have targeted 20 years ago when they building that. And why would then leave the pipeline so that Azerbaijan can get lots of petrol money and buy lots of ammunition? Armenian never ever targeted that kind of things. And however, as I said, there is a big threat of going, especially if you bring mercenaries into that region, if you start to play Islamic cards or some kind of other cards, then it may become much larger issue. And I think many countries, not only neighbors, but far away, even in United States, etc., many countries understand that escalation of this problem is very, very dangerous.
Okay, thank you. And just very quickly, also, why now? Why has this conflict come into to a peak, as it were, now? Is it because of a perceived vacuum of American power in this?
Well, why now? You should. It's a good question, but you should ask not me, not Armenian side. Please ask those aggressors who started it. I don't know why. Probably why now is probably during the logic says that they've been pre-planned probably even before the pandemic started. All these military exercises, all the things, hate speeches here and there, even in General Assembly, lots of speeches, etc., says that this was rolling towards military solution. They want the land. They hate the people. They don't want any single person from 135,000 Karabakh citizens to be there. They just want the land, and they want the solution only by military means, because they sold lots of oil. This is the only thing they have. Lots of oil, made lots of money, and bought lots of ammunition from Russia, from Turkey, from Israel, and they are using it for their dream of their victory, which will never happen, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Would you identify yourself, please, at the microphone?
Hello, my name is Kantaro Suzuki. Thank you for coming. I'm a freelance. Thank you for coming here. I have actually a couple of questions. The first question is speaking about it's kind of follow-up question about the spread in the words. in the press conference in the morning, I think you are aware of this, but I asked the same question. But the Turkey and also the Azerbaijan, at the press conference, they said the Armenian military is actually launching the missiles and killing the civilians outside of the Karabakh area, including the Ganja. And I was wondering, because if you see the maps, the Ganja is outside of the Karabakh. So why are you the Armenia is targeting that and killing the people in Ganja? And I was wondering why. And the second question is about the follow-up the question of why now. And then actually, I'm the one who asked the same question to the Azerbaijan side this morning, and they said it was actually a step-by-step process from the Armenian government. New government was emerged in the 2018, and it became a very patriotic. And then they planned step by step, and including the statement of the Karabakh with the Armenian period or something like that. And then they were saying it was actually started as if to avoid criticism from the inside of Armenia, because Armenian government is not going well for the economical policy and not handling well in COVID-19. So I was wondering, your statement for that statement coming from Turkey and Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, regarding the shelling of non-Karabakh parts of Azerbaijan. First, let me say that Azerbaijan oil money is not only used for ammunition and tanks and drones, but also enormous amount of money of Azerbaijan is used for cyber war, information war, also for bribing. In fact, there are a couple of already lawsuits are being prepared for $2.6 billion which were to be used for bribing politicians in Europe, etc. So they are spending money everywhere to spread information, falsify. Well, many people use the word fake news. I'm tired of that kind of things. Let me just say lies. Simple, direct, blunt lies. And number of such kind of lies are overwhelming from that side. Regarding the shelling of Ganja, I know that city pretty well. I wouldn't say why, but I know that city pretty well. During the Soviet times, half of the city was called Armenian part, and half of the city was called, that's also part of Karabakh in a sense, all times. Well, the city of Ganja is a center of military installation of Azerbaijan, big center. There is a military airport there, and 6 military installations in and around the city of Ganja. The first shelling of Ganja actually happened, shelling of the military airport, because of they are using, especially using the Turkish F-16 fighters or many other military drones and militaries from that airport. However, that happened weeks after they started shelling the capital city of Stepanakert. You saw the pictures there. It's not that we started shelling and killing all these innocent people. They shelled all the cities of Nagorno-Karabakh, killing civilians, taking down schools and hospitals, churches, and, well, once we targeted, yes, because the heavy artillery was stationed in that city, in near city, and we targeted once that the first time. However, the second time, there's only twice happening in Ganja, which they claim to be. The second time is absolutely fabricated. I saw the picture. Can you imagine, say, a video of one big explosion in Ganja? After minutes of that, maybe seconds, they show journalists standing right on the rubbles and talking that it was just shelled, we are trying to find someone. So how come minutes later you can have so many people, about 30, 40 people in the picture and in the video, that as if they are working there. So it's all fabricated. Armenian sides says that they never targeted civilian populations, and I will finish it here, coming back to your second question. Regarding our, leader, our leader is a guy who was born in some part of Armenia, who was a politician, and then he was in opposition. Now, 2 years ago, he became prime minister. We have 4 presidents so far. A number of prime ministers, I even lost the count. So it's a democratic process in Armenia. People come, stay 1 or 2 terms, and then go, and this is what. Look at Azerbaijan. Ilham Aliyev, 17 years reigning there. The first vice president of the Republic of Azerbaijan is his wife, and he succeeded his father, Geydaya Aliyev. So it's a sultan, who is talking about what leaders what. Certainly, yes, we even in Nagorno-Karabakh, which has been shown unrecognized, but has been shown all aspects and attitudes of being a really good state with all parts of the statehood. Has had 4 presidents there, democratic elections. And you are talking this against that. Okay, well, our leader was in Karabakh, certainly. He was talking about all kinds of things. And if you take out of the context one of his phrases, you can make a big, noise out of it. He was in the context speaking, certainly, Karabakh Armenians are also Armenians. Certainly the culture is Armenian. Certainly the land is so close to us. As I told you, my great-grandmother is buried next to Shushi. She escaped from genocide in Western Armenia, saving 2 out of his 3 kids. And one of the kids is my grandfather, who wrote a book, by the way, about all this issue. He came to Shushi because Shushi at that time was Shushi Castle and the cathedral there. And she passed away losing all, her health. So you can one more time, Azeri propaganda backed by Turkish, their leaders and friends are working very hard to show. They also refer to some kind of historical things, Hocalı, etc. If you are interested in what happened in Hocalı, which they claimed that will be a genocide, etc., forgetting about the Armenian genocide 100 years ago, which happened, and many countries not only accept that, but also denial of Armenian genocide in France, in Switzerland, in many countries, is a crime. Denial is a crime in many countries. Now they talk about Hocalı genocide. I will leave you books here. Please look at what happened there. That was right in the middle of battle in 1992. And in that time, Armenia gave a corridor for these people to go. Okay. And that time leader even admitted that was our mistake. Anyway, just read the Hocalı story and many other stories I can leave.
Thank you. Could I possibly move on if you don't mind?
Yes, please go ahead.
We have 2 online questions, as it were, here from the same person, who is Ilgin Yorulmaz. She is the BBC World Turkish correspondent. And there are 2 questions. They're both rather long, so I'll read them to you separately.
Okay.
She says in the first question, Mr. Ambassador, based on your government's arguments, this conflict is being framed by much of the media as a proxy war for Turkey's expansion. Its engagement is also being portrayed as being driven by President Erdogan himself, despite the centuries-old history between Turks and Azeris. Although this frame is useful to mobilize international attention to your cause, doesn't it detract the world from the more real conflict dynamics, such as the fact that Armenia is refusing to obey 4 United Nations resolutions to withdraw from the internationally recognized lands of Azerbaijan and allow internally displaced Azeris to go back to their homes? And final sentence, she says, given the track record of the Minsk group, led by the US and France, and especially Russia, with which your country has historic ties, and a defence agreement, excuse me, do you support the idea that the role of other permanent members of this group be expanded? Should members like Sweden and Germany and possibly Turkey be more active in negotiations? Sorry, rather long question, but...
No, thank you very much. I kind of expected that question, especially from the other side. Since for many years, like a mantra, the 4 resolutions of United Nations has been repeated from Azeri side. I don't know how many times. I've myself seen 100 times of saying the same thing, because this is the only argument, as if it is an argument they have there. I have to say several things. First, no military forces of Republic of Armenia ever mentioned in that 4 resolutions. Please go back and read the resolutions. The resolutions never, ever mention about Army of Republic of Armenia. There are a couple of places where Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh is mentioned, and local Armenian forces are also mentioned there. However, when was that? That was in 1993. The ceasefire was reached 1994, right? So we are talking about the first war which happened and ended up 1994 with a ceasefire which lasted quite long. So the main purpose of United Nations Security Council statements is calling for ceasefire. And actually, the resolutions have many other things which I would like to remind to our, opponents in Turkey and Azerbaijan, both actually. Please hear. One of the statements in one of the resolutions says, refrain from any action that will obstruct a peaceful solution. What are doing Azeri and Turkish forces now? Not obstructing peaceful resolution at the moment? Please go back to that resolutions also. Urges all states in the region to refrain for any hostile acts and interference or intervention which would lead to the widening of the conflict and undermine peace and security in the region. Hello? Turkey? Is it actually directly speaking to Turkey at the moment? So any hostile acts or interference or intervention which would lead to the widening of conflict and undermine peace and security in the region. Talking about states in the region. So taking this mantra of 4 resolutions and talking about that there was a mentioning that Armenian troops should be withdrawn. First of all, one more time, there is nothing there about the troops of Republic of Armenia in that statements. Go back and read the statements. The second question was about Minsk group reshuffling and including Turkey there. Absolutely, absolutely unacceptable. To the question why, I think I answered that. One-sidedness, biased, expansionism, pan-Turkism, pan-Osmanism or Ottomanism, I don't know, neo-Ottomanism, these kind of things, and only saying Azerbaijani brothers, they will agree on the ground, etc. No one would like them to have on the ground, and no one would like them to be at the table. It's absolutely unacceptable. You know what? It's not me unacceptable. It is unacceptable by the current co-chairmen, Russia, United States, and France, who together in their statement said that the format will not change. That's it.
Okay, thank you. We have a second question from this correspondent, but before I take that, is there anyone on the floor, a journalist? No, you've had a question, I'm sorry. Sorry, yes.
My name is Eiko Takeuchi, I'm a freelancer.
Could you identify? Sorry,
my name is Eiko Takeuchi.
Okay, sorry.
Freelancer. And in the morning, I also heard about the Turkish and Azerbaijani ambassadors speaking here. And one person said, asked them if the people said Turkish had sent Syrian private soldiers into this battlefield. Do you know that, or did you confirm this?
Thank you.
Who sent what? We know that Turkish is sending
Syrian private.
civilian private.
Yeah.
Turkish are sending civilian private.
Syrian private soldiers.
Well, many soldiers and many military personnel are already stationed in Azerbaijan. But the problem is not with the civilian private soldiers. The problem is, Syrian, okay. Syrian militia is the problem. In fact, it's a big problem. It's proved. If you want, we can put up a video. Would like to see a video and to see how they speak in Arabic and what they say. And their accent is Idlib accent or Aleppo accent. These are thousands now. They send mercenaries paid for fighting against Armenians in Karabakh.
Sorry, Ambassador.
This is taken in Karabakh. Huh?
Is this a short video? A short video, because I do want to get one more question.
It's, how long is it? 20 seconds. We have plenty of such things, plenty, don't worry. And the fact that many countries, including Pompeo and others, all said about this is no longer a kind of Armenian or some kind of thing. This is internationally recognized that militants are in there, and they are brought from Syria, now from Libya, and there are talks bringing it from Afghanistan.
Thank you. Okay, well, if you, we are actually at the 4 o'clock, but if you don't mind taking these remaining.
I absolutely don't mind. Please go ahead and ask questions.
Okay, well, she says, speaking to Greek City Times recently, a young Greek of Armenian heritage named Lakovas says at least 80 volunteers are going to Nagorno-Karabakh to fight against Azerbaijan. Should the Greek government publicly support Armenia and encourage people like Lakovas and others who want to fight against Azerbaijan?
Yes, the Greek government actually openly supports. We had a visit of Greek, when was that? Day before yesterday? The Greek Minister of Foreign Affairs was in Armenia. We, in history of Greece and Armenia, we had the same problem with, Turkish invasion and killings, etc. You know the situation in Cyprus. Situation with Greeks in Anatolia, with Pontiac Greeks and many other things. So we kind of share the worry. Actually, we worry that it will be escalating and doing this and that. So with Greeks, we do understand each other, exchange information, etc. Regarding the some ethnic Armenians coming from Greece, yes. They can come from Greece, from Lebanon, from France, from America. No one can stop them because they are patriots. They come to their compatriots are there, and they feel the same pain. They are just volunteers. They come and some of them draft, and some of them just sit in Armenia and just cheer for Armenia to finish it. As you probably know, Armenia is a country which has much larger diaspora than the population of Armenia. We are 2.9 million. Somehow this morning our population was squeezed to 2 million, actually. I don't know why, but 2.9 million. And outside population outside of Armenia is 8 million. So the diaspora, which as a result of very harsh history pages of Armenia, is living in many countries. And of course, Greece is one of them, Lebanon, Middle East, and France, and America, and many parts of it. These old people keep their identity. They build churches. They talk Armenians, and some of them also have roots in Karabakh, actually. So these guys, they want to come and protect their brothers and their compatriots, and no one says, don't come. These are civilians. They fly into Armenia, and they may go as a volunteer to be drafted to protect. Yes, this kind of things happen in Armenia, yes. But calling them, as this morning someone called them terrorists, it's I think, it's not good, to say it mildly. They are not terrorists. There are no terrorists, and Armenia can never invite any jihadist or anything for some kind of reason to come and protect.
Thank you. All right, well, there are three more. I'll read them quickly, and please feel free to answer them fairly briefly, because we're weighting you down rather. Okay, she says, some Armenian sources have always claimed that Armenian military operatives in Nagorno-Karabakh are actually liberating a region which you also say is historically Armenian, despite being internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan. Do you accept military operatives like ASALA, Armenian Secret Army for the Liberation of Armenia, one such terrorist group, or just freedom fighters? Shall I read the two short, and then you can answer them all at the same time? The next one is, what is your government's plan about thousands of Azeris who were displaced when the Armenian troops pushed Azeris out of the 7 adjacent enclaves? And finally, do you accept that your government has targeted Ganja on purpose, Azerbaijan's second largest city, and that there were civilian casualties? I think you perhaps answered that already.
I answered to the last one. Ganja was targeted, not Ganja, but Ganja military installation, military airport once. And we do not normally target neither pipelines nor other civilian objects. That's not a character of Armenian forces. Regarding the Asala, so-called, which is, someone is reading history apparently, and yeah, they've been there 100 years ago when Ottoman Turkish killed 1.5 million Armenians, including my relatives. And after that, Liberation Army was formed to fight in Europe and some other places. That's a history. There is no Asala in Armenia. No one comes as a terrorist or something like that. No, absolutely not. This is again struggle for life. This is struggle to exist. This is existential fight for Armenians living in Nagorno-Karabakh and their brothers and sisters in Armenia and elsewhere in the world. I forgot the second one was...
Well, that was the one concerning ASL. The first one was speaking to Greek City Times.
Yeah, I answered that one already.
Oh, you answered that?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Well, fine, thank you. Well, Ambassador, thank you very much. We've run you to the end of the time. I think it's obviously a very
okay, but can I just one last not statement, but something. I have presents for you anyway. Yeah. Okay.
By all means, by all means.
This is a book I wrote 3-4 years ago. It's called Armenia o Meguru 25 no Monogatari. これは日本語で書きました。 This book is published, and you can get this book as a present, all of you who are here. I think we have 20. I don't know it's enough or not, but if you want and you don't get it, contact me, I will get. This is a simple introduction to Armenia, but you can find there are lots of interesting stories. There's 25 stories, and one of the story is about my great-grandmother who saved her two kids. One of them is my grandfather from the village which my great grandfathers, four brothers, Lazaryan built, and it became big, like a town kind of thing. It was completely eradicated. All the men were killed, and she managed to escape far from Erzurum, from coming all the way to Shushi, and died there. My grandfather at that time went to work, and my grandfather's younger brother, he was only 4 or 5 years old. He was taken to orphanage. Sorry, I make it very short because you can read it. Taken to orphanage. Now the orphanage was in Gyumri. Later my grandfather went to find him because he was working, he was 12 years old. And then after that he found his brother and they joined, etc., etc. That orphanage was built by a money which was raised worldwide, headquartered in the United States, was Armenian Relief Society, Armenian Relief Fund, or Middle East Relief Fund kind of thing. And you know what? In Japan, Armenian Relief Fund was established by Eiichi Shibusawa. Eiichi Shibusawa will soon appear on your Ichiman and Satsu everywhere. Shibusawa-san, a great man, a person who kind of created Japanese capitalism, was at that time also involved in such kind of issues worldwide. So Shibusawa's efforts to collect money from Japan and to send to the headquarters also ended up building an orphanage where my grandfather's brother, you see the connection what I'm talking to you. So this is humanitarian action, you know. You can find some stories here, not only sad stories, lots of interesting stories in this book, so I'm giving it to you. Last thing, one more thing I want to mention because it happened yesterday. Yesterday, until late night, I was watching something, first time not in person, because I'm also a supporter of something is called Aurora Prize. Do we have any, no? auroraprize.com. Please visit that if you can. Yesterday was this year's nomination. After 100 years of the genocide, Armenian people decided to give gratitude to people to the world, not to Armenians. It's called Gratitude in Action. It's a humanitarian initiative. Yesterday's was done in New York City and United States. And it was amazing action. Most of it was done online because of COVID. However, this year, mother and daughter, two people from Somalia, were awarded this $1 million award. We have people of, you know, these 5 years of Aurora, people of Islam, people of different parts of the world, from Rohingya to Africa to some other places. Go and see it, Aurora Prize. You will see how Armenians work in gratitude in action. This is humanitarian. When we suffered 100 years ago from genocide, now have to honor and see those guys. A good friend of mine, actually, who worked from United States, who worked in Nuba Mountains. This is in Sudan. For 10 years, the only doctor raised something, and under the bombshells was the only hope for these people in Sudan, still working there. These are committed people, those laureates of that. So this is the way Armenia acts. This is the humanitarian issue which Armenian nation, with its very deep roots in culture and lots of heritage in each part of this planet, Armenia has left. Please visit auroraprize.com and see what happened yesterday in New York City. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much again for a very informative, and I should say, certainly as far as I'm concerned, a very educational talk. We hope that you will come back again and visit us, and it's our tradition to give you a one-year honorary membership. Thank you very much.